we're going to talk about water and sewer rates. We're going to talk about a base rate, and we're going to talk about what we call usage, or sometimes you hear us say consumption. Okay, so under A, you've got 1A, then 1 is water service, and this is residential. Talking about residential, the single family. So on this, you'll see that based on meter size is how we charge. This is for base rate. Some people call it a standby rate or a standby fee. This is your base rate. You get charged this without turning on one faucet, okay, just for having the service. On a meter size of 5/8 inch or 3/4 inch, which is, say, most of the residential sizes, currently the base rate is $12.65. What we're proposing is to go up. We've got a little formula here that we went up 5% and then rounded up to the nearest 5 or 10. So on this one, 5% plus rounded up would be $13.30, and that's for a 5/8 or 3/4 inch meter. For a 1 inch meter, $21.23 is your current rate. When you go up 5%, that becomes $22.30. Okay. On number 2, this is still water service. This is your usage or consumption, and this is measured on 1,000 gallons. So for every 1,000 gallons, you're charged $2.10, and we're proposing that that be left alone. And again, this is on the residential rate, so we're proposing a change to the base rate, but not on the usage rate. In fact, last year council went down a penny on the usage rate. We're proposing that it stays the same. On wastewater, and this is for all meter sizes, the base rate for residential currently is $20.67. We're proposing a 5% increase rounded up to $21.70, and that's on the base rate. And on the usage, which is, I think y'all know that the usage is measured by the water usage. The only way you can measure that is by the water usage. But that is for the sewage. We're proposing to leave that as it is for residential at $6.21 per 1,000 gallons. And of course, everyone knows that we're paying the entity that takes our sewage. We're paying them $6.09 per 1,000 gallons. Okay? And if you flip over, next page over, number 5 is wastewater only service. We have about 7 or 8 here at the most.
Or what size?
Wastewater only.
Oh, no. Yes, less than 5. Probably.
Less than 5, and they're charged currently a $57.32 per month fee. We could certainly entertain that going up because I don't think that has gone up in quite a while. Now, looking at multifamily apartments, and currently the 2 biggies there are Hampton Court and Tiffany. Tiffany's not considered apartments, but that is on a 1 meter that is charged. The water service on a 3-inch meter, the base rate is currently $134.79. We're proposing that it go up to $145 even. On a 4-inch, we're proposing that it goes up from $210.59 to $225, and on a 6-inch, proposing $421.17 to $450. That's on the base rate. On the consumption or the usage side, we're proposing that it goes from a rate currently of $2.21 to $2.35. And on the sewer side, wastewater service side, the base rate for a 3-inch meter is $300.49. We're proposing that go up to $315. 4-inch meters, $469. Proposing that it go up to $495, and on a 6-inch meter from $939 to $985. On the usage or consumption, the usage for 1,000 gallons currently is at $6.52. The proposal would be for $6.85.
Okay. Right, let the record reflect that Councilwoman Webb has joined the dais. Okay.
And on C, general service customers or all other customers not classified as either single family or multi-family. Number 1, water service. Base rate is the minimum. You flip over to, what's this, page 5. Meter size 5/8 or 3/4 inch. This is typically your businesses, commercial and industrial. 5/8 or 3/4 inch. Proposals going from $12.65 to $15. And I got to tell you, for commercial rates, that's pretty low. If you do some quick comparisons to our neighbors in the area, we're pretty low there, even at $15. On the 1-inch meter, going from $21.23 to $25. 1-inch to, or I'm sorry, 1.5-inch meter, $42 to $45. 2-inch from $67 to $75. 3-inch, $134 to $145. 4-inch, $210 to $225. 6-inch from $421 to $450. And the consumption rate or the usage rate per 1,000 gallons currently is at $2.29, and we're recommending that go up to $2.40. And again, this is in your business world. Okay. Number 3, for wastewater or for sewage, you just kind of go down the list. 5/8 meter or 3/4 from $20.67 to $25. 1-inch, $46.97 to $50. 1.5-inch, $93.91 to $100 even. 2-inch, $150.25 to $160. 3-inch from $300.49 to $315. 4-inch, $469.46 to $495. And 6-inch, $939 to $985. And on the usage per 1,000 gallons, recommending that 5% again, $6.83 up to $7.15. So on your, we'll just call it commercial rate. And that is pretty much the changes. So I just ran through a lot. Are there any questions at this point?
So the purpose of raising it is because of everything's going up. Okay.
It's going up in our, as you'll see when we get into the spreadsheets, we got a lot of capital projects getting ready to happen, and we've had a lot of repairs this year, and we anticipate more, so, and things just simply go up.
Correct. Thank you.
But again, I want to point out for the residential use, we left that alone. On the consumption side, we did increase the base rate for water and for sewer.
Ready? Other questions or comments?
So is there any way that I can apply for anything when this water bill and the sewer bill goes up so that can be able to help me with my bill as a resident?
Anything you can apply for?
Yeah. utility fund. Kalisha cannot pay the water bill because the sewer has gone up ridiculously high.
We currently don't have anything in place. The county has a couple of programs, but I don't know if you qualify
Affordable
or not.
Cares Act.
Affordable Cares Act.
Okay.
But you
When-
have to be late on your bill. You can't be current.
So I should have to be 3 months behind, but then you guys are gonna turn me off.
No,
Okay,
you have to notify us.
Okay,
There's a-
alrighty.
So I'm notifying you that my water bill.
Okay.
Notify us that you're
Alrighty,
applying
just for the record,
They'll tell
we,
you
yeah,
no.
Okay.
when we're on the dais, we speak generally about,
Okay.
things, okay.
I was just asking, just in case we have a resident that's not able to pay the water.
Yeah, they're.
Because you know they're going to start calling once. I remember what happened the
Oh, yeah.
last time. How, they said they couldn't afford it, but now all of a sudden, you know, they could do it. And then just to see if, you know, one of our elderlies were to ever be in a situation
We have
where.
quite a few that are on the Affordable Cares Act.
Okay.
Quite a few people that have used it the past 4 years now.
Okay,
I don't know if one particular resident that I know, not specifically, but I think that household has used the Affordable Cares Act at least for 4 of their bills. They've
Okay.
been substantial. They've paid like $600 and some odd dollars, $800 and some odd
Wow.
dollars. So there's been maybe up to 5 residents that have used the Affordable Cares Act, and we just had one recently.
and that's
apply
through the
for it.
county?
Through the county.
You know, I normally refer, people to the other one. I think it's called Children's Hope or
We
something.
tell them to call 211,
Oh.
and, which is the crisis line, and see what are all the agencies that would help them with their utility bill.
Okay,
And then, of course, you enacted the resolution initially where they wouldn't get a late fee, and then kept that on the books for a long time, all through COVID, right?
yeah,
And then the disconnect, what wasn't happening, which is why some of their bills have gotten really high.
Mhm.
But the biggest one has been, we're now collecting the revenue for Enclave. When they purchased, some of them have left their bill on the developer by not coming and putting the bill in their name.
wow,
So we finally cleaned that up and sent letters out, making sure we communicate with them. If they've ignored it, we've sent another letter out, certified mail, and just to collect the revenue and the utilities. But you've been not collecting penalties because of COVID for a while.
okay, thank
So
you.
now you're getting back to that.
Okay. Was, anything else,
Thanks.
Councilwoman Webb?
No, that would be all,
Okay.
thanks.
Sherry, the Affordable, Cares Act, can you use that one time a year, or is that something they can use for the whole year?
I think the county allows you to use it as this, I know one particular household that we've had to contact the county, or the county has contacted us. They've used it several times.
In the same
I
year?
don't know how the time frame works, but they've paid their bill at least over the past 4 years, at least 3 or 4 times in big amounts. And
Okay.
another resident I know has used it 2 times, and then another resident 2 times. So I don't know what the county's criteria
Okay.
is, but they seem to have exhausted pretty much the Affordable Cares Act, because they came in the last time, and I said, well, can't you go through the Affordable Cares Act? And they said, I don't want to be bothered with that anymore. So I don't know if the county has a cutoff period for them.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, any other questions in terms of just what available resources might be out? Just feel free to speak with the town manager, town clerk. Now, as it relates to the actual budget that we have in front of us, again, just for the information on, and correct if I misstate anything, as it relates to just the water service itself, the actual usage is remaining the same. And what we're, right, for residential, and what is being proposed here is simply to go up on the base rate. That is, as stated by the town manager, the actual monthly amount that a person is billed to have that account, to be able to provide the service. So that's what they would see. It's just the 1330 is not and some. It's just 1330 and whatever is used. So that's what, about a 65-cent a month increase, I think, about 65.
Maybe a 60 on the base rate.
Yeah,
65.
about 65 cent. Right, and that's it. And then, of course, the usage is different. Okay? All right, and then on the wastewater, which is really where we kind of, yeah, or are not able to sort of dictate what happens there, That's $20.67. And again, the usage is remaining the same at whatever it's going to be. Once we, I don't want to put anything on the record, but whatever that's going to be, which we don't have control over. But the base rate itself is 2170, so that's going up, or proposed to go up about, it's not,
$1.03.
$1.03, right. Mhm.
So before the usage, it looks like residential on base rates alone, you could go up 163. That would be the increase. And the good thing about consumption or usage, as a homeowner or business owner, you do have some control over that.
Okay. All righty, other questions or comments? And again, this is just what's being proposed and we're discussing, so any other comments or questions on that from the utilities?
I have a comment.
Okay.
I don't think we need to raise, the people water bill for, the usage is something you can't control, but people having it already too hard now trying to pay it. We don't need to add to that.
Okay. All righty. Now, again, the only thing that would increase, and I'm not speaking for or against it, we're just kind of discussing at this point, that would actually be an increase just based upon use, everything would be 65 cents a month. And that's on the water, and then $1.03 a month on the wastewater.
Every penny counts.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Right. And one of the things, and of course, we sort of deal with this every year, one of the things too that unfortunately has to be considered is, now what is the cost now, or the increased cost to be able to provide the service? And if we're experiencing a cost, and we've been in a situation, particularly with our utility, our water utility, where we've sort of not been as financially sound as we could be because we've been, always considering, right? No, we don't want it, we don't want it, we don't want it, and then we sort of get into a situation where we have to borrow money from the general account, which is not advisable. So, yeah. So again, just in 10 seconds, what we've tried to do when we finally had to say, okay, well, I guess we got to increase it somewhat, would be just to cover the cost of what we anticipated the cost would be to provide the service. So you'll notice it's 65 cents a month, right, for water, then $1.03 for utility. So not a whole lot, but I hear you loud and clear that that's still $2 a month, to a senior. So, okay.
Well, I know, $2 a month to some people is a lot of money.
Yeah.
I know when Miss Henderson was alive, $5 made a big difference with her, whether she had to buy food or pay for her medication. And $5 hurt,
Right.
you know.
And one of the
And
things,
I'm sure we have residents out here, with the same problem.
well, absolutely, yeah. Fortunately, one of the things was, and we're in the sunshine, and this is a political process. So one of the things to consider too is, what other things that we can do in terms of our ballot. Boom. Prescription costs have gone down significantly, and so there are a lot of things we got to consider in terms of us ensuring that we help our seniors. So,
But,
yeah.
the water plant and the water system should pay for itself. I mean, that was the precedent that, was talked about when we bought the plant. And we took money out of the general fund for quite a while to keep the price down. But, I mean, as you sit up here and you see everything that's happening, you got repairs, everything costs money and everything costs more today than it did yesterday. So we were more or less forced into doing something about the rate. so as we can keep it operating. And the general, like the mayor said, taking the money out of the general fund, to keep the water plant going is not the way it's supposed to be. The water plant, the water system should pay for itself. If we break even, I mean, I'd be good with that, but, as long as, you don't have to keep putting money in.
Okay.
I would say, we're breaking even, but not much, under the proposal, we're breaking even, but not much more than that. It looks like we're gonna be getting some help with grants and whatnot to help us expand, but just keeping up what we currently have. We may break even, but it's not gonna be much more than that. And as we get into this, you'll see, we try to estimate the revenue pretty conservative. And really, when you look at the proposals for expenditures, we showed a few modest increases that in actuality make me nervous because of, situations like we had earlier this year with the sewer, the water line, and all that. So we are breaking even, but not much more than that. And of course, when the next audit comes, that'll give us a better picture, but anyway.
Okay.
I digress.
Yeah. All righty. Well, certainly, yeah, you never want to do it. That's the best way to look at it, and of course, always using analogies. Best way to look at it is that there's four of us, and there's something that we need to do that costs $400. What would be the reasonable contribution from each of us? $100 each, right? And so that would be the better way to look at it.
But if I only got 80, you got 100.
Then we would not be able, right, but we wouldn't be able to afford the $400 item.
Right.
We'd be $20 short.
Right.
Then we'd have to borrow from somewhere, and
That's right.
to your point,
Yes.
which sort of ties into the point. Then we'd have to borrow $20 from somewhere, ultimately to pay it back, hopefully without interest. So, yeah. So, hence the budget to try and figure out, okay, how do we pay for this $400 item? And there's four of us, so to speak.
Right.
Okay. All righty. Okay.
And if we will, and I'll try to be brief on this, we do have a spreadsheet to look at just for the utility fund tonight. And I'll try not to bore you too much or ramble on too long, but on page 1, and this is, you can see some actual numbers, kind of like in the middle column. That's what is approved for this year, and just to the left of that, some of those numbers are what we've actually spent so far this year. You notice the top part is the revenue. When you go line 1 through 17 or 18, that's your revenue. Now, we do have total revenue, we just haven't been able to break it out into these line items yet. We're close to doing that, but we know so far this year that we've brought in $887,000. That's not counting the water bills that have been coming in since the first of the month. So that number's good. As we move through the process, we'll have that number broken up into different line items. But as we kind of go through the list, you'll see approved budget for fiscal year 23-24. That's what we're in right now. That's the money we're spending. And going through the revenue, no change in number 1, application and reporting. Number 2, special assessment, no change in that. Meter fees, we anticipate that staying the same. Inspection charges, that will probably go up a little bit, but we're keeping it conservative. And then the water revenue, I'm on line 6, residential commercial water revenue. We're showing an increase, this is with the proposed rates going through, about just a little bit under $32,000. On the fire line revenue, that's proposed increase, would show $3,000 additional. And on the sewer, significant, almost a little bit over $200,000 more, which we will need it. Interest earned, that number's conservative, 15,000, that's from our bank. Plant capacity for water, we're estimating, and this is based on Waterview Apartments, and as they move forward, that could be as high as 6,000. And on the sewer side, pretty much the same, but about $3,100. Penalty income, this is where late fees, cutoff fees, and all that bad stuff. We anticipate about the same number. That's usually where that lands. Miscellaneous income, about 3,000. Contingency, we're showing this current year is 58,000. We're putting that at about 50,000 for next year. Transfer account. This is pretty much what we refer to as the ARPA money. So.
Who money?
ARPA. That's from the federal government. We actually do have that in our bank account right now. $1 million. This transfer amount, this anticipates a transfer from our general fund to the utility fund for ARPA funding and for potential federal money that would come in. And you'll see where we show it on the revenue side, and as we go through the expenditures, you'll see where we spend it. Okay. And 17, state funding for sewer. We did very little work this year in regard to that, so probably end up at about $775 getting reimbursed in next year, and probably a little bit under that for this year. Okay. Now we'll go into the expenditures, unless y'all have questions for the revenue side. Don't want to bore you, but I don't want to rush through either. The water department, and again, this is all under the utility fund. Contracted services, where we show some modest increases. We're showing, this is line 19, increase of $3,000. Permits, fees, that should stay the same. Electricity, we always put a little bit in there extra. Repairs and maintenance, just a little bit of an increase, $2,000. Line 24, printing should be about the same. Operational supplies for the water department, when you're looking at chemicals and charges to deliver those chemicals and whatnot, that's pretty modest. So 45. If you flip over, page 2, back of 1. I'm not hitting a whole lot of what we've spent so far, but those numbers are there. If you see a dash, that just simply means it's basically a zero. Nothing's been spent. Line 27, dues and subscriptions, that should stay the same, about $800. Miscellaneous, $100. Education and travel, training, $3,500. Leaving that the same. And here's your capital outlay for infrastructure improvements. And this is going to be more on the water side. This is going to be your ground storage tank. This could be all of the ARPA funding and anything that we do with the federal money that we're going to get. We haven't totally decided everything that we're going to do with that. And knock on wood, if we get that, and we think that we will. So $2,500 in ARPA/improvements. Okay, on the sewer department side, 32 is a big one. This is something council needs to really consider, and I know we can't make a decision tonight, but I I am showing some litigation attorney fees at $50,000. And, you know, as I kind of work through all this, that may be way low. If, you know, for whatever reason, the town got into a prolonged court case, or we got sued, or if we sued or whatnot, 50,000 may not cover it. So that's something council needs to consider, the good and the bad on that. Contracted services, this makes me nervous, but we left it alone at 32,000. We've spent almost 20,000 so far this year, with about 3 months to go. Permits and fees, 3,000, still the same. Electricity, $1,000 increase. Sewage disposal, at the rate we're going right now, this is what we pay Riviera Beach for them to take our sewage. We budgeted 623. We're going to exceed that for a few reasons. One thing is that water leak that we had that got into our sewer system. That cost us about $120,000 for 1 month. It just makes me sick to say that, but that's true. So we're going to exceed that 623. We anticipate with the new customers that we now have online and everything, that number could stretch closer toward 900,000. So that's at 875. Repairs and maintenance, modest increase from 35,000 to 38,000. That repairs and maintenance at 135,499. That represents most of the repairs that we had to do in that crisis situation that we had. Okay. Operating supplies, we left alone. Capital outlay infrastructure, a lot of that 759. I would have to break that down for you, but we haven't actually spent that amount. That's an area we probably will spend that amount before the fiscal year is over with. Basically, that's half of the septic sewer project. Okay. So the sewer department could see an increase from 1,470,000 to 1,773,000. Okay. And then under utility department is kind of the catch-all. You have all your salaries in there, and benefits, health insurance, and all that good stuff. We are showing, as we talked about the last time, a 5% increase for all full-time employees. That would go from 195,000 to 205,000. Overtime, we left the same, and you can see by the actual amount that we're pushing up close to that as we stand right now. Social Security, go up at least 1,000. I'll double check that math, or actually Sherry will double check all this math. Retirement, around 21,000 to 23. Health insurance, and again, like we talked about last time, we're estimating on all insurance coverages going up 25%. We hope that's not the case. We pray that's not the case, but it could be. So that's what we've factored into your budget. Okay. Dental, same thing. I think we're actually paying health and dental out of the same line item, but at any rate. Life insurance, 2,500 to 3,200. Workman's comp, 7,000 to 8,800. Unemployment insurance, 1,500 to 2,000. And if you will flip to page 3. Is there any questions so far? I'm kind of running through this.
I do. So for that 120,000 increase from the sewage leakage, there's nothing that we can apply for that would help us? You know how when we have issues, FEMA would come in and help if you apply? There's nothing that we can apply for?
Nothing that I'm aware of that I can check.
It was an accident, something we didn't know of, right?
Now you're talking about on
The,
what we're paying them?
no, you said it went up to the 875 because that 120 was added to it, right?
Right. That's what we're paying them.
But then he said it's gonna increase 120 because of that leakage that we had.
No, the leakage
So 37.
that we had, we're using ARPA funds to pay for that.
Oh,
That's gonna be closer to 150.
okay.
Yeah.
The increase that I'm showing is with all the new stuff coming online.
But ARPA, we have to pay back though, right?
No,
No,
Oh, okay,
that's ours.
it was just carried for something else.
okay.
Yes. Thanks, Uncle Joe. We did that. Don't have to pay us back.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Page 3. Always attorney's fees. This is just regular, standard, 1,500 we left alone. Engineering services, showing an increase in this. Most of this is going to be covered in your grants, or a good part of this will be covered in your grants or your ARPA funds or appropriations, but from 60 to 75,000, we're going to be using our engineer quite a bit. So,
What funds did you say?
I'm sorry.
How do you say that?
On page 3, line 51,
Yeah, I'm there. You said what kind of funds?
ARPA,
ARPA.
American Rescue, something I can't remember now. But it's from the federal government. We actually got that in 2 parts, about 500,000 in consecutive years. I think we have through 2026 to spend it, mostly for utilities, so.
So you have that, and you have to spend that for 2026.
I think that's correct. There is a deadline.
So you can put that money anywhere you want to put it, as long as it's
Mostly,
accountable.
Most of the criteria does fit into utilities.
That's exactly
Some
what we
people
want.
have put it into like the cable, some people offer that service for the municipalities that offer electricity, they can use it for upgrades there.
Just asking out of curiosity.
Uh,
Can that be used? I know you're talking about raising the water bill. Can that be used, like you say we're breaking even? Could that fund be used for the water bill for the people at some point? I'm trying to avoid that raising of the water bill. People crying to me about that water bill.
You probably could, but the only thing about that is, that's not a sustained revenue. That
Okay,
money's gonna go
okay.
away.
Okay,
And then, in order to keep up, we would have to come back to the water customers and go double the increase, because now we don't have that ARPA funding.
so that money doesn't come every year or every other year. How does it come?
That was a gift from the federal government because of COVID.
So that's from COVID. Okay,
It is basically trying to say, we realize that the local government lost some revenue, so this is trying to
So it's a
make
one-
up for some of that.
so is it a one-time? Is that one time?
We got it in 2 parts over consecutive years, but yeah. We got $1,010,000, just over.
And then once you guys spend it by 2026, it won't come back. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Let's keep moving.
Okay.
These other, I'll jump down to 54, professional services. This is the utility funds part for our lobbyist. Contracted services, we're showing a little increase there. Line 57, telephone, basically the same thing. Postage the same. Electricity, a couple of $100 more. And disposal fees for solid waste authority, the same. Liability insurance, we're showing an increase, of course. Repairs and maintenance, vehicle maintenance, we're showing the same, but that's living dangerously. Repairs and maintenance, we're showing the same thing. 12,000. 500 still for printing. Office supplies, we went up $100. Operating supplies, the same. And uniforms, we came down a little bit. we should be fairly good on uniforms, but we do have money in there for boots, pants, shirts, safety equipment. Fuel, we went up a little bit, even though it looks like that number's gonna hold up okay. We did go up a little bit. Fuel's always unpredictable. Dues and subscriptions, the same. Miscellaneous, we just put it 1,000 this year, and that is pretty much it. No contingency money. Flip over on the back, see page 4. We are showing a significant increase overall, and that is on the capital side. 3 million to almost 5
Okay. Any other questions? Any questions or comments? Okay. Alrighty, just a couple. On page 2, line 42. Yeah, this is represent in terms of, and just for just as a matter of information, and this will seem so minor, but just in case somebody comes to request copies of things, that last item should be proposed budget. Right, so don't want anybody thinking we've approved the budget already. So just a technical issue. Okay. Alrighty.
You're on exhibit, hey?
Trying to get that.
No, just the general, that last column,
Okay.
as it pertains to all of the pages. Yeah, where it has approved budget, just proposed budget. Technical, just a technical scratch. Right, but on page 2, the salaries, the 42, does this represent the proposed, or what you're proposing, what was it, 5 or 7%?
Yes, sir.
Which was it, 5, 7?
5%.
Okay. What did we do last year?
I think we did 5%.
5%.
last year.
Okay, I think we did 10.
Ah,
Well, now, we did do an additional 2% for the outdoor workers,
Mhm.
so they got 7%.
Okay.
2 years ago, Sherry, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 or 3 years ago, we did a 10%
because they
increase
missed one.
for
Mhm.
all full-time employees.
Okay, so 15 in the last 2 years.
Correct.
10 years ago, you mean?
Okay.
And that's
Two
because
and
they
10
didn't get
years ago.
any.
Alrighty, I'm
Prior.
sorry. I'm sorry?
I think they did the 10 because they didn't get any. prior.
No, just a,
We did a
I'm sorry.
salary adjustment across the board.
Right, no, each year we've either did bonuses or we've did adjustments. So,
We've had a
alrighty.
bonus.
Right, so looking back 2 years, and here's where the unpleasant conversation takes place all the time, right? That if indeed we're having, and we don't know what we're going to experience this time around with the increase of insurance and everything else that goes up proportionately, right? That we pay health insurance, health insurance, dental, life, and we pay everything, right? It's, if we're going to continue, and I'm saying this in all seriousness, as it relates to the budget, but if we're going to continue to consider raises, then we have to consider, much like we talked about water, this proportional share that takes place, we have to kind of consider that as well. Whether that means, we can no longer pay the life insurance, right? Still offer it if that's a possibility, but then the employee pays for it to help offset the cost of raises, because if not, then we're going to get right back to where we were before, where we're like, budget isn't very solid. So one of the things, and I guess for Councilwoman Davis might be new, that I've always challenged the town manager, whomever he or she is that if we're going to be looking at increases, because everything is going to increase, right? All of our expenses are going to increase. And so we always have to look for additional revenue streams, not the ones that currently exist, because they're capped, right? So what new revenue streams will we have in order to offset the cost of these proposed increases would be the challenge again this year. And so the challenge to the town manager would be that, because when we get to the general, it's going to be even more prevalent, right, this conversation. So you never want to not give raises. I understand, we all do, sitting up here understand, but let's just kind of make sure we could have what is commonly referred to as level funding, that if we're going to be adding 5%, we're getting 5% from somewhere to offset the cost of it, okay? Alrighty, and if we're getting 3% from somewhere, then we look at a 3% raise, so to speak, proportional. Alrighty, also for, okay, that was the septic. There was something else that I had. Also, also another unpleasant conversation we may have to have on page 3, line 54. And I really appreciate the work being done there by the lobbyists. One of the things, and the reason why I just sort of put this out there, just for thought and perhaps conversation. Yeah, just for thought and conversation, regardless of how the council decides. In light of the fact that, and I'm trying to say this as gently as I can on the record, in light of the fact that we're getting nothing from the state, for whatever reason the governor went through, and you've seen the report, so I'm just going to rehearse the report that was out there, that for some reason all of the communities, I'm trying, and I want to stay true to the wording of that report, so Mayor Albright isn't saying anything. But all of the economically disadvantaged communities, how about that? Right, for whatever reason, it was almost if it was just arbitrary, just got lined out, just nope, 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 nope. We had requested $750,000.
We requested 1.5.
Yeah, 1.5.
It got
Yeah.
knocked down in the committees
To 750. We didn't get it. Boca got it, 750. Right, a community that don't need it. So you understand what I'm saying? Right. So if indeed we're going to be paying for lobbyist services and getting nothing, is that a good use of funds? In light of the administration we're dealing with. So just for conversation going forward. So, alrighty. That's what I have for right now that I have noted. I'll go through, and if there's anything else, I'll speak offline, and then we'll come back together at the next meeting, and I'll have that information. Any other questions or comments?
I'll just add to what you said, Mayor, that's 2 years in a row that we came up
Mhm.
empty.
Yeah, I was just about, I was about to say.
But then it's a 90,000 expenditure for 2 years to try
Yes.
and get something, and it's all, you don't know what you're going to get. You got to be in it to win it, they say. So we got in it 2 years and didn't.
How long have we had this lobbyist?
I think for 1 or 2 years during COVID, we did not. We started about 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, minus a year or two.
About 3 or 4 years total. We did
Mhm.
take a break.
Right. So
And have we accomplished anything with them?
there have been a few victories.
We got 40,000. Actually, we were approved for 110,000 for after-school and summer reading funding. That's when COVID hit. We could only use 40 because we were so limited. Sherry got a good online situation going, so we could only use 40 of that. This septic to sewer, 1.5, we've gotten through this, and that's it. That's it. So, 1.540.
Okay. All righty. Any other comments or questions? Okay. If not, Ken, anything else? Okay, great. Well, that's the presentation and conversation we're having for tonight as it relates to the utility fund, the proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year. No other questions or comments? And no other additional information from staff?
Just to say, if you have questions, don't hesitate to call. I really want to make sure. And just a disclaimer, should have said this before the presentation. These numbers, at this point, they could be off a little bit, relatively pretty much on, but, there could be a couple of mistakes here and there. And so those will get identified and washed out as we move forward.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All righty, and we'll have time to, in and of our own, to kind of go through, and if there's any questions, as he stated, just get a hold of him, and then we'll flush those out if we need to at the next meeting. Seeing that there's no other business to be had here tonight, motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Okay, motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It is carried. Thanks so much, Ken and staff. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on Tuesday. Is that a regular meeting?
Regular council,
Regular council meeting.
one-on-ones for anyone interested.